Hey everybody, Tom here. Just wanted to start off this episode with a quick PSA. In the time between recording this episode and editing this episode, my dog and my best friend Levi passed away. It was really sudden, it's been really sad, and of course, editing this episode on death has been really hard to get through. It was honestly torture to get through it, but it's going to be a good time. We're going to have fun. Don't worry about it. Just wanted to dedicate this episode to my dog, Levi. He was the coolest dude in the world. And just a couple of announcements. First of all the money that we've received so far from Patreon, we have decided to donate to the Humane Society, which is where I adopted my dog 6.5 years ago. So grateful they took good care of him until we could. So I'd love to give back. The second thing is all of our merch is on sale right now. It's 10% off with the coupon code Levi. Anything that you buy through our store, we have tons of t-shirt designs. Anything you buy with the code Levi will be 10% off and will again be donating all of the profits to the Humane Society. If you out there want a dog, you've been thinking about it, just get one. Give someone a good, loving home. If you have a dog, make sure to spend a little extra time with them. I wish I knew last Wednesday that it would be my last time with my dog. I didn't know. I didn't spend enough time with him, and I deeply regret it. But hopefully this episode inspires you a little bit to spend some time with the ones you love, because you never know when they're just not going to be there anymore, and it's super tragic. So Levi, buddy, little boy, this one is for you. If you'd like to donate to the Humane Society, there will be links in our show notes. You can find them at reminiscentpodcast.com/episode/179. But for now, let's just get into the episode. I want to start this episode with probably the boldest claim we've ever made on this show. I Will Follow You to the Dark is the greatest acoustic song ever written, and that is enhanced by the fact that it was written and recorded in 20 minutes flat. Let's start the episode. What is going on, everybody? I'm Tom.
And I'm Pat.
We're best friends, and you're listening to the Reminiscent Podcast. All right, Pat, where do you stand on that super bold statement?
My gosh. I know the intro was played, but in recording time, I'm still sitting here marinating what you just said. I like the energy. Can I just say I like the energy? Let's carry this. Let's stay with it. I'm not going to agree or disagree. There's a lot of acoustic songs to comb through. I mean, there's plenty. I mean, as many as you could think of. There's more than you could think of, probably. So we're pigeonholing. I don't want to I'm just saying, like, we could stop this momentum, or we could carry with it. Let's carry with it. I'm into it. Let's say it is. F it. It's really great. Let's do it.
Yeah, man. I mean, we talked about like Ever So Sweet and Hey There Delilah, as if any of those hold a
Damn, now
candle
you're
to
coming
this
up with
song.
examples of what might be better. Like, no.
No, like, how could we even say one is better than the other when this song exists? Like, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters in the shadow of this song, you know?
Wow. I was walking through the shadow in the valley of this song.
No, it's good, dude. Like, I have so many stories about this song. Some I know I've told before, some I have not.
Can I just say this?
Yes.
I'm so glad we're doing a Death Cab episode, because we have been thinking of every fucking reason to do that. Same with Dashboard, and I get those mixed up a lot. Just because the names are similar. Come on, people, they just are.
Dashboard for Cutie, bro.
Oh my God, dude. I think that's a line from an obscure Gym Class Heroes lyric, actually. He just names a bunch of emo bands in one of his like really long verses. Doesn't matter. Moving on. So happy to be talking about them. Plans is an interesting record. I think it's not like the first one that comes to mind for a lot of people necessarily. Question mark. Okay, let's get into it. I'm just excited to be talking about them, and this is a really good song off that record.
I was trying to Google the track list. I wrote Plans, Deathboard for Cutie.
Deathboard. Interesting.
Not even trying to be funny.
An album of metal Death Cab covers? I'm into it.
Speaking of that, actually, I wasn't going to tell the story, but when I was very new in recording school, I have a bachelor's in audio production, whatever. One of the first songs I ever tried to do, it's just because it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing.
I know. It's just, and I don't want to be the quotes anchorman guy, but recording school, I'm Tom Kelly, and I went to recordings. It's like, no, you did. It's okay. You're really good at it.
So one of the first songs I ever wanted to do by myself was a punk cover of I Will Follow You Into the Dark. And if you can find, I don't even remember, I had a SoundCloud of a bunch of stuff. The very first song on there, I don't even know what my username is just the drums of the punk cover of I'll Follow You Into the Dark that I really wanted to do. So I would love to do a metal cover band of Death Cab songs.
Man,
anyways.
Now my mind's going down that road. Save me. Let's get into the episode or something.
All right. I want to give the most fun fact I've ever heard in my life is there was a really good interview from like enemy.com or something. Enemy. Is that what it's supposed to be? Enemy.com?
I think so, but I think the opening riff to, I had to see this through in my brain. I Will Possess Your Heart, that bass line that opens up the song. If it was like dun 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 with like the drums going in the back with the breakdown and shit, that would be raw as hell. I would actually really love that. Now I need that metal Death Cab cover album. Dun 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 dun. Or just Coheed covering. Anyway, I know that's the only metal example I ever give. You want to talk about real hardcore? The only moderately uncomfortable. Doesn't matter. Okay. Anyway, it would be a great idea. Get on it. Punk goes whatever. Punk goes metal? Have they not done that? If so, why not?
No, I think it was the first one they ever did. But
oh, well, me.
And the Aquabats, I think, were in it. Anyways, so the band was about to go into the studio to record plans, and Ben Gibbard was like kind of stressed out because they didn't really have, he said he had like half the album done, and he had gone like weeks trying to write new songs. And the deadline was looming before they got into the studio. Very professional of him to have anything done before he got into the studio, because a lot of bands just go in with like nothing. But he said it was weeks of like trying ideas that just didn't work, and he was like getting really, really frustrated. And he was driving to like this little studio space he had in Seattle. And he said as he was driving, this flash of the words I Will Follow You Into the Dark, he said, like passed through his consciousness. And he got to the studio and he was like, I want to do something with that. And he said, like, in the matter of 20 minutes, he had written and recorded this song. And he said, it wasn't even like I was writing it. It was like I was channeling it. And we've talked in the past about like, this song was written in an hour or like whatever. And it was like totally like society changing, or like the way, you know, whatever, the greatest acoustic song, whatever. And it was like effortless, you know, built on the back of weeks of trial and error, mostly error. But it was just like, took no effort. It just came out of him, and it was done in 20 minutes. And like, how hard have people worked for stuff that amounted to nothing? And again, takes 10 years to be an overnight success, yada, yada. But like, can you imagine just like pouring a song like this out of you like not even like conscious of the fact you were doing it?
I personally, no. But I am not surprised that it happens, just because I think we hear that story, not a lot, but, you know, this record doesn't have a hit necessarily. The songwriter goes into their hotel room, they're down. I think Dancing in the Dark by Bruce Springsteen was one of those examples of like, and they just happened to write one of their best songs in their catalog that night. You know what I mean? Like a little, you know, pressure makes diamonds type thing maybe. But it doesn't surprise me, because Ben Gibbard is one of those, probably the best the decade has to offer songwriter wise, at least top 3, at the very least top 5.
Okay.
I don't know. He's just, the boy's good at what he does. Sue me. And so it doesn't shock me that a little nudge in the direction of we need something. Not that they, I mean, Crooked Teeth is really good, and I think that record has, you know, obviously more than just I Will Follow You Into the Dark on it. But if they needed a little extra juice, it doesn't shock me that a little nudge in that direction forced him into that moment of zen, I guess. Not forced, but, you know, I don't know. He's just, I don't know. It's not like an uncommon tale, I think is my point. So it's cool that this was one of those, because it feels so natural. It makes so much sense from the very beginning, you know, from every verse to every chorus to every note to even the music video makes like, everything about it is like, I get what this idea is, I identify with this idea, and I need to listen to it a lot over the next like several decades. You know what I mean? Everything about it just feels There's nothing forced about it. There's not pieced together patchwork. It's great. So could I do it? No. Am I glad it happened this way? Yeah, because it makes it more fun, and it kind of makes sense. It just kind of flowed out of him. That's awesome. And it doesn't surprise me that he did it because he's good at what he does.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think there's like a lot of interesting stuff happening in the song. I've got like a ton of like very intense memories tied to this song. For one, Zach, our best friend, like sang us down the aisle at my wedding to this song. Like this was the song we went down the aisle to. And
in the rain.
In the rain. Yeah.
And not just a small amount of rain. It was coming.
It's a very like special memory for me. And I remember when we were talking about like, you know, what do we do? We can't afford a string quartet, whatever. Like, oh, what if Zach does something? And like just right away, it was like, it has to be this song. Like it just felt right. And I'm a very like what if guy. I like really dwell on like how bad would it have been if this thing happened? You know, we're actually celebrating our 2-year wedding anniversary in like 3 days at the time of recording this. And
can I throw in a huzzah real quick?
Sure.
Huzzah! Nice.
Thanks,
happy anniversary, man.
Thanks, bud. Yours is not too far away as well. August, September 8th?
It depends on your, I mean, it's out there. It's on the calendar. Yeah. Not like in the next couple of weeks, but it is. And thank you for thinking of us. Yes. No, it's a good times.
Yeah. But I don't remember if it was rehearsal or the actual ceremony, but like once, Zach was performing this as he was walking down as like one of the groomsmen. And once he got past the crowd, he decided to turn around and walk backwards so that he was still addressing the crowd. And I thought that was like very thoughtful. There was a bench, and I swear to God, his heel came within like half an inch of kicking the leg of this bench. And I remember just like, as the wedding was happening, thinking over in my head, I would have felt so fucking bad if he just like ate in the middle of like a wedding ceremony.
It's funny you say that because, you were there. He did a reading at my wedding, and he took a similar performance chance, a performative risk, I guess. With mine, and he didn't fall at yours, but during mine, he like for the last line, it wasn't a religious reading, but there's nothing wrong with if it would have been or whatever. That's not what I'm trying to say. But for the last line of what he was reading, he put the paper to his chest or put it down to his side to like deliver it to the audience as if it was in his mind, like he had memorized it, and he just took a beat and put the paper right back up and read it. Like, he was going for this super dramatic, and God love him, it still landed. It wasn't that big of a moment, but I could see what he was trying to do because he's a natural frontman. He's a ham. He's just
right.
A good songwriter. He's a natural performer. And I knew what he was trying to do, like a dramatic, set the paper down and deliver the line. Right. But he definitely didn't quite have it. So I'm glad they weren't flopped because if he would have slightly messed up in your version, he would have fell into the mud, which would have been bad for everyone. I think it worked out.
Yeah.
That is funny.
And I remember like, I bet I can probably knock out some harmonies as this is happening. I'm like standing under this like thing. And I remember trying to hit that first note and it was just like, nope, not going to happen. Just like pretended like I didn't try. Just so nervous, so excited.
The old Catholic Church thing, like, how is this going to sound? Not good? I won't make noise. Is breath coming out of my face? Yes. Are notes coming out of my mouth? Not even a little. Christ has died. Christ is risen. Christ will come again.
Anyways, okay, so Ben Gibbard was 29.
Which is the tone of this song. That's what he's trying to say in this song. I'm sorry.
God. So Ben Gibbard is 29 at the time of writing this song, which is the age we are currently. And it's quoted as becoming obsessed with the concept of death, the afterlife, and started like taking stock of his relationships. And it's funny because like that hit me super hard at 29. Like super hard. And the thing that's been hitting me really hard lately is like my dog. He's like 7. And
I hate anticipating my dog's death.
Dude, I was thinking like no joke, Pat, I would shave 20 years off of the end of my life to have another 10 with my dog. Like I want my dog and I to die on the same day. Like that would be preferable for me. I'm starting to like be more aware of death. Like I've only had one very close friend pass away. I've had like both my grandfathers and, you know, some people that I kind of knew, but like death hasn't been like that close to me to where it's like the anticipation of it is like any year there's going to be like the worst tragedy of my life, you know? And it sucks that I'm like, it's so, I don't know, present, even though I don't need to be worrying about it yet. So it's interesting to hear him talking about the concepts of death. Obviously this song is about that, but getting some more context like from his mouth about like what the song is about, what happens when you die. Like, I don't care what happens. It doesn't matter. I will just be there with you is like the most beautiful sentiment. And not even just like, I'll be there with you. Like I will follow you there. And it's almost like, oh, was it from Scrubs or something where it's like people can die of like a broken heart, like when their spouse dies, like they die pretty shortly afterwards, and it's like cannot even go on without them. I don't know, man. It got me thinking a lot the past few days of like revisiting this song and like, you know, bargaining for more life with my dog. I honestly had a really bad COVID scare not that long ago where like super had every symptom except really the fever. I was feeling feverish. I didn't have it, but I was like reevaluating everything and like, would it honestly just be easier if we were all dead? Like, why do we even value life at all? I don't know. I got thinking.
I think it's because I don't know. We have fun doing the show. I like that, you know?
Well, no, it's not to say there's nothing to live for, but like, what's the point of all of this? I don't know. It's so scary to think about.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take an actual, like, put feces on that thought immediately. But, because, you know, we've talked at length as friends about times when things were, the ups and downs we've had over the last, 15 years or so, if not longer. And they haven't all been highs for either of us individually, different paths, whatever. It's interesting to think about. And I think 29 is, you have some, you're more aware than you ever were.
Yeah.
About the fact that you're on a one-way trip. You know what I mean? And it's not something you had to think about when you were 22, for example, or, 15, 16, or a child, of course. So, I could see where you start to, I don't know. People keep saying, I saw some movie that was joking, like, it was like they were talking about like sex during marriage or whatever. And they were like, wait till your 50s. As like when you're 50s, you kind of like say, well, we're not dead yet. F it. Let's have crazy sex during this decade of our marriage, which I always thought was so funny, but like, you're going to be a different person throughout your life. There's going to be ebbs and flows and ups and downs and growth and whatever. But I could see how 29 is your first, like, okay, we got a milestone that doesn't allow me to rent cars or smoke tobacco. You know what I mean? Like, this is just a number and there's no reason to track it other than I'm entering the like middle third kind of, so if I'm lucky, it's the middle third. So yeah, I get that. I get that. I'm sorry if I'm rambling a little bit and getting away from your original point of maybe feeling, what's the point of it all. But, I think the point of the song and the video we'll get into later maybe, but he walks right into that hole in his floor and faces it. It's not something you can run from even if you want to.
Well, does he? Let's just do it. Let's get into it. The music video.
Okay, here's the only joke I wanted to make for this entire any Death Cab episode.
Okay.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Pat.
Is this a Death Cab for Cutie, a music video, or is this any given 3 minutes from the movie The Science of Sleep?
I haven't seen The Science of Sleep.
That's my big Death Cab joke. Thanks for being here, everybody.
See you next week.
That's as good as it gets.
I haven't seen that movie.
It's just, I don't know. If there was a big pessimist that didn't care for this genre or whatever, it's just like you could file it into indie bullshit, I think, and you could probably cover a lot of ground there. But I didn't get it, but I'm not cool or good at this. So, and I've never claimed to be. I watched it because a girl I liked at the time was aware of it. So it was like, all right, let's do it. I think it was that, and this is a believable thing, but Marie liked Homestar Runner in this movie. I'm like, Homestar Runner, totally get it. Science of Sleep, not as much, but I'll watch it twice just in case. You know what I mean? What am I missing here? And it wasn't a huge crush. It was just like enough of an intrigue to watch Science of Sleep, which,
Let's just start with how the video starts, right? We're looking out a window. It pans over to this almost looks like a huge utility closet. It's a studio apartment from your worst nightmares, kind of. One cot in the corner, a utility sink, an acoustic guitar, kind of a cute little kitchenette and dining room set, but
yeah, the stove or the range or whatever is actually kind of okay. They got some, but then
the Property Brothers were here, right?
Guess what? I found this great range. It still works. So I'm going to have it refurbished.
It's got great bones.
Great bones. Great bones. And you know what the Property Brother gives Zooey Deschanel? Great bones.
Ooh.
Sorry. You hung it out.
Sorry, Ben.
No. Wow. I did. You set it up. I hate everything. I'm sorry. I didn't even like that one. It wasn't even fun to do. It was just there to do.
Disrespectful to Mr. Gibbard.
I know, dude. I love him so much. More than Zooey Deschanel, honestly. Other than her role in Almost Famous, which is I like that movie a lot.
New Girl's great, but
yeah, it's true. I don't know why I'm taking such massive dumps on people today. I'm sorry. You got me thinking about death, and now I'm just throwing haymakers to avoid thinking about it.
Okay, so one shot that I find really intriguing.
Crude haymakers. Sorry.
One shot that I find really intriguing is actually one of the first things we see other than Ben sleeping in that weirdly tall cot is the camera inside the guitar. You see his fingers picking the strings, and I didn't really put it together, but it seems like that was foreshadowing of the later shot you would see of the hole in the floor, right? Very similar vibes. And I thought,
yeah, very Science of Sleep.
Oh, really? Okay.
No,
I thought that was fun. Oh.
I noticed that too. It was really nice. It was a nice touch, I thought.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of okay, I'm in this void, and you're going to learn a lot about that, void being so, which we can talk about the physics or the dimensions of it maybe now. I don't know, but you're looking from the hole where there's a spider, right? He notices it. He walks over. A spider comes out, which is a key to just burn everything down right away, I think, right? Arson is the option. Renter's insurance will help, I think, if you can cover your tracks well enough. But then it gets big enough for him to put his whole leg into, which I think if we're looking at the apartment, right, this character in this movie is not going to have great health insurance just based on how the apartment looks, if I had to stretch a guess. So that could have been a bad fall.
It reminded me of, on Twitter, a few months ago, it was guys actually live in this apartment and don't see anything wrong with it. I wanted to make a meme of this music video with that caption. But yeah, I mean, it's a straight subfloor. There's no structure or floors over the subfloor. Little hole. He first notices it, and then later on he's just walking and he falls into it. And his whole leg, we see it from underneath, his leg is through this hole in the floor. And he's able to pull himself out, and as he's eating his cereal, he notices that the hole is just on its own growing larger and larger. And that's honestly kind of the rest of the video, is him being inconvenienced by this growing void in the middle of his apartment, but he's just kind of walking around it to the point where he's has 6 inches on the side of the wall where he's he's on the side of a cliff trying to get over to his bed. And obviously the whole imagery is death is looming closer and closer. That's becoming more of a real thing. Yeah.
I don't want to be the peanut brain, but that's what it's symbolizing, right? Going into the dark, facing the existential,
It's becoming more of an inevitability that this thing is going to consume you. And he's
he's going to have to face this problem. He can't walk around the hole forever. He's going to have to acknowledge that there's a hole in his apartment, or that there's death looming at some point, right? Is that kind of the parallels we're talking about?
Right. And it's he's aware, but he's avoiding. He's not taking action on it, but he's trying to get around it, skirt around it. And
even singing to it at one point. Yeah.
Yeah. So, dude, the video, I'm afraid to just give the whole video in like 30 seconds because it's so simple, but it's so like, it's so beautiful in its simplicity that like,
which brings it back to the speed at which it was written and recorded, right? Everything about it is just like, it's simple, but what's not to love? Honestly, it's it's you're not going to turn it off. You're like, okay, I'm in. Hole in the floor, gotcha. I've lived in that shitty apartment. I've been there. I've thought about death. I've been down. If I would want anybody to guide me through these thoughts, it would be Ben Gibbard, hands down, right? He'd be the first call. Makes the Mount Rushmore of top 4 dudes to call for this situation, like from a mental standpoint. So like, it's like, okay, eventually we'll have to face it, which is pretty simple. The resolution they come to in the video is pretty simple, but beautiful in its own way as well. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Sorry. We always get to a point in an episode with something we really like, which is all the stuff where we just start gushing. That's where I'm at. So I'm just going to hand the mic back over to you. You can't say enough. I'll just stop there. Back to you. It's great. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm afraid of moving through this too quickly because it's so simple, but there's so much wrapped into it. We can get into the lyrics and whatnot. But I mean, the whole video ends up being him being unable to avoid it anymore. He falls off of his bed into the hole. He's got his fingers on the ledge. He tries to pull himself up, and there's like this dramatic fall, like very Gandalf falling, into the volcano type vibes, arms flailing.
It might have been, given the year it was released, maybe. Do a quick Google search of when those 3-hour movies were released in theaters.
I want to say 2001 or 2002.
Okay. Maybe a nod.
But, then he's standing in the hole, realizing that like it was only 3 or 4 feet deep this whole time. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe the concept of this, maybe the thought was worse than I expected. And we see another shot where it's all this void, but it seems as if there's like a staircase that you have to willingly walk down to actually get fully into the darkness. And I don't know if that's like the whole walking towards the light, like part of your soul, your consciousness has to like give into this thing. Like it's unavoidable for your body to fall into it, but like your consciousness has to allow this process to move on,
So there's this show. It looks similar to the animation from Adventure Time, and I don't know if it's the same guy or not, or gal, or person, but essentially they take snippets from this dude's podcast and they edit this beautiful, trippy kind of storyline, and they talk about. You think when you open the first episode, they're going to be talking about what they're animating. That turns out not to be the case. It's just discussions on the topic of magic or weed or drugs in general or this and that, but they'll be set to these like weird trippy zombie storyline things or like fish people villages, and I don't know, it's trippy. But the subject matter is pretty interesting, and during the magic episode where they were talking to this guy who practices magic, like there's books out there that, was it Crowley is the guy's name or whatever, but chaos magic, all this type of shit. They were talking about like Eastern thoughts of like finding peace over the course of several lifetimes instead of trying to achieve enlightenment in one lifetime, thinking you can accomplish that and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And how there's a point past enlightenment about, can you be so at peace that there's growth between lifetimes and as you get reincarnated and things like that. I think I'm probably butchering what this guy was trying to convey. Although I looked it up online, I was trying to read around and people argued that he was butchering what he was trying to say. So whatever, I'm not trying to get into those weeds, but it's a weirdly, when he falls into the pit and stands in the pit, we could probably do a few hours on what it means to have stood when we were led to believe this was a vast gap. The fact that you have to walk into it and accept it is another several-hour conversation that could probably take place.
Which is intense. And not only that, when the camera pans back out, we're back in the apartment with the floor whole. Like as right. one piece, as if it never happened. And it's just like the circle of life, like life moves on. Like there is no change in the physical universe. Like you live on in the memory of people, but like life moves on as if you never existed.
Here's something I just realized. This music video in the movie American Psycho have very similar endings. The apartment just needs to be lived in by someone at the end. I'm half kidding because the American Psycho. No, if you watched American Psycho, it's not the same. I was trying to make a joke. But technically, from a real estate standpoint, they are similar. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, just we could do another probably hour or so on the fact that he shows himself singing at the death, at the hole, spent his career writing songs about emotions, but really still fearing it and having to face it at some point. We talked the other week about Bixby Canyon Bridge being on playlists for road trips and thinking about it. Dude. This is a songwriter that took journeys to places his favorite authors were at just to try to find semblances of this and that. And I might not be speaking chronologically in terms of his work, but it's something that's on the top of his mind, finding meaning, finding, good uses of time, things like that. Following good artists from the past that he's enjoyed, things they've done to try to figure out what it all means. And it's almost tough because we keep harping back to this message that this song goes back to. I'll follow you into the dark. It's a very simple willingness to do your best from a mortal standpoint to be with a partner, I think, as the narrator states in the song, to I'll be there with you the best that I can be, to as much as I can understand what this is, which is to understand nothing as human beings, obviously. So, I think not to continue harping, but we kind of keep circling back to this beautiful in its simplicity thing, but also kind of the sub headline of like, you will have to face it at some point. But I'm not sure the character in the video itself, you don't see him, there's no reward for it being finally able to walk forward. He stands up and he realizes that it's not going away, or that it's something that he can manage with, or anybody could. What do you think he's trying to say there? I don't know. Like when he stands up, what was going through your head? Because I was like, I didn't expect that. Because they make it seem like he falls far as hell, but then it's like a shallow pool situation.
I mean, I kind of thought of it as like this hopeful thing of like everyone fears death, but like when you're actually like in the process of it, it's not as like scary and bad as you think. And that like, it's not this like chaotic descent into the void. It's like, I don't know, like this slow walk down in kind of this familiar place. Like you're still kind of in your apartment. And it's like, I think the point is like, it's not as scary as it seems when it's happening, maybe. I don't know. I mean, and I think this again has to go to like someone who dies, of natural causes in their bed around their family is obviously very different than like dying in some tragic accident or something. So like maybe this applies to like a natural death. I'm not really sure. Of old age, of time is kind of what the thing represents, passage of time. I don't know. I think it's just maybe it's not as scary as you think. But that's also like maybe his bargaining, like him trying to like, but it won't be that bad. It might be like a plea for some kind of comfort in the process. Yeah.
Do you think there's anything to the fact that the video takes place in just the shittiest apartment possible? Like, is it trying to state about how life is or viewed by the person who's fretting death and not even taking time to not buy a bed, but like appreciate the fact that they have kind of a neat stove? Or, I just really, like, is there anything from the apartment we should be taking away?
I think there's probably a lot wrapped into those visuals. I think it could probably be so much. I'm not really sure if like it's just showing that like he has a bleak life, or maybe like, his celebrity and his gravitas around him, he still feels like that on the inside. I'm not really sure. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I was trying to glean that. I don't know. I was looking for any guidance into like, okay, cool, we have to face it. What do we do in the meantime? And I was just looking for answers there, maybe where there aren't any, which is probably how I was listening to something. The writers were talking on some podcast about like more often than not, your fans are going to find connections that you didn't intend at all. So like,
right.
We could be doing that thing where it's just like, okay, so he's in his apartment and he needs to appreciate the apartment, even if it's shitty. That's exactly what, it's like, I have no idea, but it's like, okay, this is so beautiful and so great. Mind if we ask for more advice? Like, what do we do in the apartment if it's shitty type thing? Or if it's not, for that matter, if it's a nice apartment, what's the rule book? That's that Mad Men quote. that always kind of struck me. Like everyone wants to feel like they're doing the right thing type, you know what I mean? Like, or what's right for them, I guess, for that matter. Anyway, most people, whatever. I'm not going to quote Don Draper for the whole show, but yeah, maybe not, but a nice sentiment, a nice take on it from one of our era's best dudes to do it, right? I mean, thankful for it. I never saw Plans as like a front to back masterpiece, which might be blasphemous, but I'm just saying due to ignorance. I'm not saying I'm taking a stance against it. I just wish, looking back now, like, wow, I like half these songs on their own, just being from a distance Death Cab fan. But now seeing this at early in the record and seeing Crooked Teeth and things like that, you're like, oh no, this could have been one of my favorites ever. And looking at all the Death Cab albums, I feel that way. I had that realization with Narrow Stairs very recently. Like, oh my God, 2/3 of these are songs that have been in playlists of mine for years. So
yeah,
I mean, I was giving Ben Gibbard credit at the time for being a genius, but now it's like, oh my God, and to, kind of say what every 29-year-old's thinking, as you kind of alluded to earlier, I don't know. It's kind of like when middle-aged suburban white women hang. Sometimes I cook with wine, and other times I even put it in the food type bumper stickers on their kitchen walls and stuff. Like the simple stuff, is it profound? I don't know. Is it cool or not cool to embrace the fact that we don't know? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had alluded in prep for this episode that it was going to get a scotch existench, but I wasn't sure how deep you wanted to go with all that stuff, which has already been pretty to this point.
Yeah. It got even heavier than I imagined, but dude, I love this song. It's so good.
I'll say this. He seemed pretty pissed when I saw him in Pittsburgh that people were like, falling into the dark. He's like, easy, dude. I might not now. Damn. It was like the summer, The Dark Knight was filming in Pittsburgh, and I was living there for the summer doing an internship. And I was there with a girl from high school, I guess. Yeah, just as buds, I found out later, I guess, which I'm a silly dummy. But they opened with a cover of the Batman theme song, Na 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 Batman, right into the full album version of I Will Possess Your Heart, which I was like, it's kind of a dumb way to start a show, in my opinion. But because it's just 8 minutes of the bass line. It's either the best or the worst. I respected it and loved it because I love the band and I love Ben Gibbard. It was like, yes, yes, yes. But then afterwards I was like, took the air out of the room a little bit, just a little, if I'm being honest. But that's okay. It's okay. I'm glad he did it. Like, as a fan, I'm like, yeah. But I don't know. It definitely wasn't hype as hell mood-wise in the room at the moment. Like in minute 4 of the intro, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Anyway, he seemed like, is that the curse of writing a good song? It seems like every songwriter at some point has expressed some frustration of like, I wouldn't have written it if I had to sing it every week for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of hear that refrain echoed throughout the industry, throughout certain things, throughout certain songs. I think Joe, Rocky Mountain Way, man, I shouldn't have said it. I knew I wasn't going to remember his name. Not Joe Cocker. It's the Eagles dude, Joe Walsh, who joined the Eagles late. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I think that's what he said about Rocky Mountain Way. Like, I don't give a fuck about the song. It was a very dark time in my life when I wrote it. So I don't know if that's how Ben feels about this one, but it's kind of an interesting notion. It brought so much joy, but for people to just scream it at you while you're trying to do a show all the time for the rest of your career, it's like, not that happens, but I get it. It's like, that's kind of tough. Well, here's the question. Is that his defining song? Is that his best? Is that his best? What are his 3 to 5 best? Not that we need to do that here right now and put you on the spot, but like, got to be up there.
I mean, I could totally see some frustration where like, this is the song that hit, but I'm sure there's songs that he put a lot more time, effort, energy into, and he feels like the stuff he actually really tried at didn't get the attention that this song did, which was like recorded, like one take, one microphone, just, whatever. I could see like some kind of frustration, but also like, I can't possibly imagine, not being, I mean, I'm not a successful artist, so I can't imagine like taking a song like this for granted and being like, but also like, obviously they're going to fucking play it. Can you imagine seeing Death Cab and them not playing that song? Just stop screaming it, dude. Like, just shut the up.
Yeah. Yeah, I was bummed that guy yelled, because you want to be like respectful consumers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or just write them a letter like, hey, love you guys after the show. I don't know. It's just like, but wish I would have seen this or something. I don't know.
Yo, speaking of respecting a performance, I saw Death Cab in like, we were still in Virginia, so it would have been 2017, 2016. Who were they on tour with? Was that what they toured with? No, not Brand New.
The Aquabats.
Anyway, no. Really?
No. Sorry. It came up during one of our recent recordings, if not this recording. So just callback humor. That's pretty much all I've got. So thanks for being here, everybody.
So I totally forget who they were touring with, but when they started playing I'll Follow You Into the Dark, I got my phone out and I filmed the entire song. And it hit me at the end of the song, dude, I don't even remember them performing it because I had my eye on my phone trying to make sure they were in frame how I wanted them to be. And the saddest truth to all of that is I don't even have the fucking video anymore. So like I saw them perform that song once. I may never see them perform it again, and I don't remember it. And that was a very defining moment. Since that show, I have like had this
gone to the island.
I've had this thing where like at a show, I allow myself during the first song to take 2 photos and 1 15-second video, and then my phone is away for the entire rest of the show. And I find that is a much better way. Just like be in the moment. I paid the $30 plus $57 of convenience fees to be at the fucking show. Have it for yourself, not for your Instagram followers. So
yeah, I mean,
tough lesson.
Yeah, I mean, you know me with the maybe don't record at all stuff, but I've been victim to that as well. And what's weird now is like, obviously all the cell phone lights on at one time instead of lighters is an interesting effect in a stadium. I think that's why Coldplay and certain other acts started giving out bracelets. I think even at NBA playoff games they do that. Lights in a stadium that you can control and play off of, and the cell phone light thing, it's not that new is bad. It's just, I mean, we're not going to like conquer social media problematic tendencies in this episode over the next, 10 to 20 minutes. So I won't go down that road. But like, I'm glad you came to that realization because I know you enjoy it, and so do I. I work in it. It's like part of my career, even though I'm not the biggest fan on a personal level of using it. Obviously, again, I don't want to get into social media stuff. I might even ask you to cut this later, but that sucks because you seem to have more than one story, Hayley Williams Warped Tour related stories as well, where that one girl was screaming over the video you were trying to take. But living in the moment, I think, in respect to this song and facing death, and if enlightenment is your desire, perhaps, I think the first step in well, I wouldn't claim to know, but I'm sure living in the moment is a good first or middle step to any of the processes you are following down if you're facing these thoughts about death and wanting to confront them in a healthy manner and things like that.
Yeah.
Being present is, as far as I can tell, good, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm not going to claim to know. But anyway.
Well, let's just end the episode on that.
All right, have we hit that time already?
We're about there. Yeah. I mean, we can take it into the post show and, whatever, but.
Oh, I got something for the post show.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm looking through the notes. What was the scrub scene where this was playing?
Dude, George. When the guys were going to go to steak night, we're going to steak night. We're going to eat it right.
Do it right. Yeah.
And George said like he was dying, like 24 hours he'll be gone. And he's like, my family's on the way. And the guys were like leaving for steak night and they see him like still there alone and sad. So the guys cancel steak night to like hang out with George, drink a beer, and like hear his life story. And like, it's like a montage.
Is that season 8?
It was late. Yeah. I think it might've been. And as they're doing a montage, like Zach Braff is doing a voiceover, like maybe the whole point of life is to like just enjoy the moment, like just enjoy one more cold beer, and I'll Follow You Into the Dark is playing over it, and it is very heavy. It's like one of my favorite scenes from the show.
Well, take Bill Lawrence's word for it. So we were on the right path.
You know what? Let's just end it there. Great ending for the episode. Love you, Pat. Love you all. See you next week. How fucking tragic is it to hear me 2 weeks ago say I don't have to worry about my dog for a while? It's been a week, so I'm healing, but it's been very difficult trying to donate as much as I can to the Humane Society. So please check out reminiscentpodcast.com/shop, and we will be donating all of the proceeds to the Humane Society. Use the coupon code Levi for 10% off. Hold your partner close tonight, your dog, your mom, your dad, whoever. Treat them with respect. Tell them you love them. We love you all, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.